This is a podcast by WellHouse Church, where we talk about what it's like to be a Christian Monday through Saturday, to live as a person of faith in a culture against faith. What's up, man?
Oh, not much. How are you?
I'm all right. Doing okay.
Good.
Doing okay. Busy. Got those mid-semester blues.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cruising. I'm like a damn. Because Baylor's doing that thing where, like, everybody goes home at Thanksgiving. And so, like, there's pretty much...
You're in the final stride.
Yeah, there's, like, nothing left. I have a couple of papers left, but, like...
Yeah.
I've got a month to do them.
Yeah.
A month and a half.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
So, last week we started the series on creation care.
Yeah.
And so we are...
The conversation evolved more into, like, the relationships of science and the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we start, which it kind of needed to start there.
Oh, for sure. I do think it is an issue for a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's something that we should revisit on this podcast at a later time.
To do, like,
fully
more justice
flesh
to
out.
it. Yeah, that's probably true.
But now we're actually going to be talking about creation care.
Yep.
And we're starting in Genesis 2, right?
Yep.
You want to walk us through this?
Yeah, so I think first, a little disclaimer here. I don't read Genesis 1, 2, and 3 like super literal. I don't think that's helpful. I think there are some pretty big hurdles that happen when you read it super literally, such as in Genesis 1, man and woman are made together. Mm-hmm. And their first command is to be fruitful and multiply. And so if their first command is to be fruitful and multiply, then to be in good standing with God, they would have had to have had sex. And presumably at least start the position of having children. But then we get to Genesis 3, and the punishment handed down to Eve for her sin is you will now bear forth children in pain. Why would you ever tell someone that if they have no concept of childbearing without pain? So presumably, if you're reading this super literally, now she also has children, which kind of puts a damper on the whole Romans 5 thing for sin into the world through one man, because now we got 5 different, or however many presumably, right, kids running around like there's all this sin that's entered the world this way. And then in Genesis 2, the order of the way that the characters and the setting appears are out of order from Genesis 1. So in Genesis 2, before vegetation's on the ground, man is there. In Genesis 1, vegetation is made, then man is made. So I don't read them very literally. I need to give that disclaimer. For me, Genesis 1 says that God is the cause of creation. Mm-hmm. Genesis 2 is that God made creation in order to have fellowship with humanity. And Genesis 3 is that somehow humanity screwed it up. Yeah. So that's how I read the story.
And for you, this could be a progression of whoever knows how long, right? Is that, or are you thinking these are like back-to-back events?
No, yeah. For me, they're literary devices for some author at some point to explain the cosmology of the world when they don't really know.
Got you.
So that's how I read it. You can roast me in the comments if you want, but that's how I read it.
You will probably get roasted at some point.
Somebody will, and that's okay. Yeah. I will gladly take them out to coffee and have that conversation with them. But so with all of that, just because I don't read them literally doesn't mean that I don't think there are elements to be learned from the text.
Right.
And so in Genesis 1, we have this story of this 7-part creation narrative. And at day 6, man and woman are made together and told to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
Now, that's important. That's in Genesis 1. I'm looking it up right now. I'm so sorry. I didn't already have this. I think it is 22. And God spoke this blessing over them: be fruitful and multiply. Yep. So, oh no, I'm sorry. That was for the other animals. This is verse 28. Then God blessed them and gave them this directive: be fruitful and multiply, populate the earth. I make you trustees of my estate, so care for my creation and rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that roams across the earth. So, we have this very, very early kind of picture where God makes them, and he gives them a command to be fruitful and multiply. Now, those are metaphorical words.
Yeah.
What's the metaphor that they're communicating from?
I have no idea.
That's creation metaphor.
Okay.
To be fruitful is to bear fruit like a tree, and multiply is what creation does.
Okay.
It multiplies itself, right? I mean, just think one animal can birth multiple animals. Like it is a multiplicity that's built into creation. So right away, the narrative is from a creation narrative. It is, your job is to be fruitful and multiply and to populate this thing that I have given you. Right? So we have right away that humanity is deeply connected to creation, even through God's choice of words. Right? It's like humanity is deeply connected to creation. And he tells them, I think this is so interesting. Populate the earth. Care for my creation. It's like, oh, interesting. Right out of the gate. So let's think about this. So we have first part of creation in Genesis 1. God makes light. Right? He speaks light into existence. Then day 2, he separates land and water and does this. So he starts to form the earth, separates the atmosphere or whatever. And then we have 3, 4, and 5, where he starts to make creation, like the earth itself. Wow. And in him making all of this, he makes it quite beautiful. I mean, the poetry that exists in Genesis 1 is designed to show you the beauty of creation.
Right.
This is not just a place to house humanity. This is a place to show the majesty and power of God. And so they make it, and then he's like, but now I need people. So he makes people and tells them, care for my creation. Right out of the gate. So in Genesis 1, you have that God is deeply connected to the things that he creates. And it's almost as if you were going to put kind of a, almost like a bubble. And you have God and creation kind of not the same, but connected. It's like God is creating this, and it's beautiful, and it reflects who he is. And then he brings humanity into it, and he says, hey, care for this. Care for my creation. So in the very first chapter of the Bible, we are told our duties, according to Genesis 1, to be fruitful and multiply, to populate the earth, and to care for creation. And it says, and rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that roams across the earth. Now, when you hear that word rule, what do you think?
I think kingdoms and kings and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like what anybody would reasonably think.
No.
Now, can you have good rulers?
Sure.
Can you have bad rulers?
Absolutely.
Which one do you think we are?
Like humanity?
Yeah, if God's put us as ruler over creation, how have we done?
Oh, I would say that in some ways we've done well, but in some ways we've done very, very badly.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment.
Yeah.
I don't know. You were maybe a bit more generous than I would be.
Mm.
I think we've done kind of a terrible job.
I mean, yeah, the ozone layer is depleting and
Well,
the
not
Earth
just
is
that,
dying.
but even just at a bigger, more holistic level, and we have whole species of animals and mammals that are going extinct because of us.
Yeah.
Right? Hunter and I, that's my wife's name for anybody who doesn't know. We've been hooked on watching the Shark Week stuff on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like whole species of sharks that are extinct or virtually extinct, not because of anything in nature, but because we just don't take care. We're not good rulers of the fish.
Yeah.
Whole birds that are on the endangered species list because we're not good rulers of the birds of the sky.
Yeah. So there was this one bird. Can't remember what it is. If you guys know, let us know in the comments. But right after, or pretty close after, America was settled.
Okay.
There was a whole, like, I think it was
so
estimated.
America was set as a colony of Britain or like as its own country?
I don't remember exactly
Okay.
where in the timeline it fell.
Okay.
But it was a long time ago. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of these birds with this one specific kind of bird that almost like took over, right? There were so many of them. And then they became target practice, literal target practice. And then it became one of those things like if you're rich, you eat these. And so it became even more. And then they started hunting them. And now we have, I think, I don't know if they've gone fully extinct yet.
They're definitely endangered.
Yeah. I think it's a kind of like prairie chicken.
Okay.
And that just shows how you're saying we've done a terrible job.
Yeah, I think exclude environmental conversations, energy, natural gas, coal, although exclude those pollution conversations. Just look at how we've treated the creation, like the animals, the other inhabitants of the creation. And then, one of our favorite TV shows, mine and Clayton's, is a show called How I Met Your Mother. And one of the main characters on there is Jason Segel, who plays Marshall Erickson, who his lifelong goal is to be an environmental lawyer. And he ends up watching this documentary on garbage. And it's a really funny episode, the way it plays out.
Yeah.
But
it's a serious issue.
Yeah, it's a serious issue. There's a whole place called Garbage Island where the garbage of the world gets dumped.
No.
And it's bigger than the size of Texas.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's a real thing.
Yikes.
And what's even crazier? We always talk about those little plastic rings that come on 6-packs. You got to make sure you either break them or cut them or whatever so they don't get hung on a fish's neck or a bird's neck or whatever.
A penguin.
Yeah, whatever. But it don't matter. If it gets in the water, and I learned this in my environmental science class, if it gets in the water over time, I think they were called... Dang, I can never remember the name of these little things. It's got a funny name though, and it starts with an N, and it sounded made up.
Okay.
But they're the little bitty things that make up your plastic.
Okay.
They break back off, and fish swallow them.
Okay.
And they seep into the water, and over time it poisons the fish.
Oh, wow.
and like brutally kills them.
Yikes.
So that garbage island thing, big problem.
Yeah.
For more reasons than just garbage being in the water, right?
Yeah.
That's a real problem that is harmful to the ecosystem.
Yeah. And I think, that's one thing that we often overlook is that this planet is quite circular.
Yeah.
In that, plants, we need plants because they provide oxygen.
Yeah.
And they live off of CO2, which is what we put off when we breathe in oxygen. So, I think that reciprocal idea in the way that God created us is designed to help us see that we're supposed to care for this thing. It literally gives us life.
Yeah.
The greenery on this planet literally gives us life because it provides oxygen to us. And it's also interesting that in Genesis 2, sorry, I want to make sure I get this right. Sorry, Genesis 1 and 2, the only thing that Adam and Eve are permitted to eat is the fruit of any tree.
Yeah.
Right? Remember, you can't have meat without death.
Yeah.
And there's no death in paradise.
Right.
So in the garden, they're not eating meat. It's actually not till Noah that they're given permission to eat meat.
Mm.
And remember also, in the story of Genesis 3, after they sin, they feel ashamed and they clothe themselves with plant leaves. Yeah. They still have no concept of death in their mind. It's not until after God confronts them that God makes them loincloths.
Yeah.
Out of death. So this whole idea originally was that we wouldn't eat death. We would only eat life.
Mm.
You catch that metaphor?
Yeah, that's good.
That we eat the very thing that provides life to us, but yet we have predominantly become a carnivorous society in that we would eat like just enormous amounts of death.
Yeah.
To a rate that we now no longer treat the animals that are giving us nutrients well. I mean, have you ever watched some of these videos of like meat packing plants?
Oh my gosh, it's horrific.
Like these slaughterhouses and
horrific.
It's like, oh my god, specifically the pork ones.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
And have you ever seen like feedlots and things?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's like we're going to eat that now?
Yeah.
I've tried the vegetarian thing a number of times for a number of different reasons, but like that alone makes me want to go vegetarian.
Yeah. Now, if you are a wool wearing, meat steak loving, good old Texan who drives a big truck, like
a diesel truck,
a big diesel truck, we're not hating on you, I promise.
No, we're not.
And we're not telling you to drive a Prius. Or not drive a car at all.
Yeah, no,
or
I have a car.
Wear plant leaves. Like that's not what we're saying.
No.
What we're saying, because once you say that we shouldn't drive cars, we should save all of the rainforest from becoming parking lots. Ted on How I Met Your Mother makes a really good point. Where are you going to park your car?
Yeah, well, that's a straw man argument.
Yeah.
It's like taking the dumbest part of what we're saying and like turning it into the main point.
Yeah.
It's not what we're saying.
No. But I felt like it needed to be said, right?
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying. We both eat meat. We both like meat.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to try like Meatless Mondays or something though.
I'm currently wrestling with this in my own theology, and I think I'm about to try to start moving back towards the vegetarian route a little bit. Because, and I commend Dr. David Capes for pointing this out to me, when the Messiah comes, there's no more death.
Mm.
The Messiah has come, and we should be living now in expectation of the culmination of the kingdom of God, which is the final realization of the Messiah. So in a way of suffering and expectation to live that out, I think I'm going to go back the vegetarian route. It's just unique to me. I'm not telling you should do that, listeners, or Clayton, you.
I'm not doing that. I like burgers too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of elements here. And if there's one thing that I want you to get out of this mini series of creation care is you should care a little bit.
No.
Like if you don't go to the fullest extents that are possible, like that's fine. But you should care some. I mean, we go above and beyond. So
I would say that's true.
Both of our houses try to recycle. I'm not as good at it as I would like to, just because our local municipality makes it very difficult on people to recycle.
Yeah.
But I pay extra for 100% renewable resources for my energy, for the electricity bill in my house. We try very hard. My wife and I both have tried vegetarianism on a number of times for environmental reasons. We try very hard to go above and beyond. But if you don't go to the levels that we go to for it, that's fine. But I kind of, as a Christian, I kind of expect you as another Christian to care a little bit.
Yeah. It is an important issue. And maybe you're feeling a bit of conviction right now, and that's a good thing. Listener, embrace it. Take that and run with it.
Yeah, because you can go like really, really far with it. I think Clayton gets frustrated every time he comes over to my house because we don't have napkins.
A little bit.
We don't have paper napkins because while recycling is good, zero waste is better.
Yeah.
And so we try very hard to limit our single-use products in our house. And Clayton gets frustrated because we have cloth napkins.
You will be very proud of me. I actually bought some cloth napkins for the trailer. They're denim. They're super cool.
You have been indoctrinated.
I wouldn't call myself indoctrinated. And I made sure they were hardy enough that I didn't have to replace them all the time.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper.
Yeah. Oh, so you did it for a fiscal reason.
I did it for fiscal, also lowering on waste.
Yeah.
Because once you use a napkin, you can't recycle it. You have to throw it away.
Right.
Which sucks.
Yeah. So I think, and there are other ways you can do that, right? There are plenty of companies now using bamboo to make napkins and paper goods, which is far more sustainable than trees because bamboo grows like 4 feet. A stalk of bamboo grows like 4 feet in a month.
Yeah.
Whereas like a tree.
And it grows like a lot of it. A lot of it grows really quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like it's much more sustainable than trees.
It's not as comfortable on the face, but
they're getting better.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
We have some. I mean, we use bamboo toilet paper, and when we first started using bamboo toilet paper, it was that John Wayne toilet paper. It don't take crap off nobody, but it's much better now. It's not Charmin.
Yeah, no.
But I get a little shimmy when I'm done. Like I feel okay.
Okay, I mean that's good.
Yeah.
Listener, try to embrace these things because, and even if that just means for you moving to bamboo products, or maybe for you that means meatless Mondays, right?
Yeah.
Whatever small little thing that you can do to take care of creation, I say do it.
Yeah, another element that we do, and I've tried it a number of times, and I've been successful at it some, and I've been unsuccessful at it some, is composting.
Mm.
So I have a compost bin. Composting is very easy to do. As far as the knowledge and science behind composting, the difficulty is remembering to tend it.
Yeah.
And that's where I've messed up. I didn't put enough dry goods in it, and the bottom molded.
Yeah, there's been times that I have walked past his compost bin and like it did not smell good.
Well, it never smells good.
No,
That
it
is one
doesn't.
thing about composting.
It's literally rotting. But
Yeah, it's breaking down. Yeah. So, but it's really good. It's very good for the environment to compost, and it's good for your yard. I mean, you can spread it out, and it becomes a natural fertilizer. It becomes a topsoil if you do gardening or anything like that. I mean, so any number of these, even if you're a person of means, and you have a little bit of extra money,
yeah.
up your electricity plan to the 100% renewable resource plan. And here's a crazy thing. It only costs like $25 or $30 more.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't cost, like I've done the math a couple of different times, and like to go back to the other plan, it would only drop our bill like $30.
Yeah. You know, COVID has done a lot of things. But one thing COVID has done is reduced our carbon emissions, which is good.
At least for a season.
Yeah. Because we're not driving as much right now, which is a good thing.
When I think working from home for a lot of people will help that too, because
Yeah.
they drive less. I mean, I know I drive a lot less working from home. Our dad drives like never
Yeah.
now.
I definitely drive a lot less. I used to drive all the time.
Yeah,
I
you
was
spend a
all
lot
over
of
the
time
map.
driving. Yeah.
I would go through about an Audible book a week that's about 10, 15 hours long.
Yeah. Just in the car.
Just in the car. Yeah. So whatever that means for you, doing something small to make a bigger effect.
Yep.
Just think about it. That's all we ask.